Hello and welcome back to another whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. It's good to have you with me. As always, thank you for joining me. It is review number 71, part 5 and the final part of my series, The Perfect 10, looking at some Scotch single malt 10-year-olds of notability. And this series has led us, or brought us, to here. This is a whiskey this time, which I have had on my to buy list, we'll call it, for months, for a long time. This hung around the bottom of my I must buy a bottle of that list to see what it's like. I don't even know what put me in the direction of it. I don't know why I led and put it onto my list in the first place. I can't remember. It never really got talked about an awful lot. And then it was when our good friend Roy Aquaviti Duff granted it hero status that I listened. My interest was piqued, shall we say, and all of a sudden it seemed to appear on social media everywhere. And it is, of course, you can see it here, the Glencadam 10-year-old. So let's see why this all of a sudden is being talked about. A Highland distillery, Glencadam in the East Highlands there, owned by the Angus Dundee distillers, bottled at 46%, non-chill filtered, no colour added. So, and the other thing is bourbon cask matured. So I don't know about you, but I actually had a rough idea of what I was sort of in for with this. You know, there's a few of them out there that bourbon matured. If you've got a good spirit, then bourbon matured, 10 years old, 46%, no colour added, don't chill filtered. You're expecting a bit of quality. And let me tell you, it's there. First thing, you do hear it an awful lot about this. It seems to be a word that gets used an awful lot about this whiskey. It's clean. And it is. It's a clean nose to it. It's not a dirty whiskey by any means, and it doesn't act like a dirty whiskey. It's just good, clean, crisp. I've described it, and this is something that I've described it in my head as no nonsense, no faff whiskey. They've got a good quality, no nonsense whiskey here. Clean, as I said. Sweet, slightly floral. There's a light oaky sawdust note. There's an awful lot of this screams bourbon cask, and quality bourbon cask, I would imagine. It's light honey, light lemon. Yep. And the bourbon cask shows its head again in that there's a chemical sort of note, like which I get on quite a few bourbons. And when I say a chemical note, like glue or nail varnish, or even nail varnish remover, acetone. Not a bad thing, not in a bad way. It works well. Sometimes when you say these notes, it sounds like as if you're maybe putting the thing down. By no means, it works here. So by no means does it play against it. Yet again, into those acetone notes. Pear drops, I've mentioned pear drops before. If you don't get them around the world, there is an acidy note off them. And even fresh pear. Slightly resinous. Pine needles. Bubblegum. Yep. And vanilla. Now, I mentioned quite a few things in there I'm saying that it's no nonsense, no faff. But they're pretty much all pointing in one direction. They're all orientated around this same fresh, sweet, clean sensation. Very, very nice. As I say, it's that freshness. Sharp, sweet delivery. Be quite thick, quite coating. More of that resinous wood. More of those pear drops and acetone notes. It's quite strong, but it's delicate. When I say it's strong, I think because it's so coating, the alcohol is very noticeable, 46%. The alcohol's noticeable, but at the same time, there's a delicate feel about it that it doesn't. You know the alcohol's there, you know the ABV's there, but it's not blowing your head off. Custard, barley sugar, digestive biscuit. Yet again, a lot of these notes to me would sort of ring with a bourbon cask, a good bourbon cask finish. There's a gingery heat. Slight hint of aniseed. Yeah, very, very good. Finish is lengthy. It is quite long. Lots more of that gingery heat. Weirdly not, but contradicting here, but heat, but it's not overly hot. It's not a hot whiskey, I would suggest, because it's a ginger heat that just plays out nicely. Yeah, it just tapers off very nicely. No nonsense, no faff. Gonna add a little water. Gonna add a little more water actually. This is one that I can understand why people are talking about it. Why it remained quiet for so long, I don't know. Why people only seem to be talking about it now, I don't understand. But I will already say it's one worth picking up. The water takes a bit of the sharpness, those glue notes. Yeah, the water takes the sharp edge off those gluey acetone notes and ramps up the pear a bit more. So, and it's the fresh pear. So a lot of that acidy sharpness comes out of it. There is a confectionery note off this. Powdered sugar. Candy store. It's that sort of thing. Bringing the ABV down softens it. Where that alcohol, that ABV earlier was very noticeable, it just rounds it off nicely. Subtle enough, neat, but I would prefer it with water. Yeah. All those flavors remain intact, but it's just not as bitey. For me, it is definitely helped with that addition of water. Weirdly, the gingery heat now becomes even more noticeable, I think. so the water seems to be spreading it better. Yeah, and the finish remains long, it remains fresh, it remains sweet, keeps that gingery heat running. Yeah, I would definitely recommend water with this one. Not an awful lot there, just enough to round off those edges. So, yes, I would highly recommend it. I mean, it does, as I say, Roy at Aquaviti gave it hero status, so that means something, and it certainly was enough to make me pull the trigger on it, and I can understand why he did. So, yes, if you like this, I'm going to recommend one to you. Just if you like this sort of feel, there's another one out there for me. Another, I was going to say Highland distillery, but it might actually be Speyside. Didn't check that one. Can't remember off the top of my head. If you like this, give this a go. The Glencadam single malt. This was like, it's not really an experimental series. They're working on this. This is readily available. Comes incredibly strange packaging, but everything's broken down here. Actually in and around the same price. This is roughly 35 to 45, but you sometimes can pick it up a bit cheaper on offer. But I would shoot for 35. Actually, this is around the same price, but you're only getting a 50 cl ball. But it's just it's a bit of a curiosity in today's market. Whereas to me, bottles of whiskey used to look like this, and now they don't really. They're definitely aiming more toward this market now. The sweetness is there, the gentle, the light spirit. Glencadam use ascending line arms on their stills, which creates a little more reflux, which creates a lighter spirit. It's the theory anyway. That's what I hear. Glencadam, in this case, actually triple distill, which creates a lighter spirit for them. So these two actually do sort of play quite similar, and it's just something that I'm thinking that if you've like me hung around on this and then pulled the trigger and went, yep, I'll give it a go. Yes, I do like that. I wonder what else out there I might like. I would recommend the Glencadam single malt. It's a little different, but sort of the same. So there you go. This series, the Perfect 10, there are loads of 10-year-olds of notability out there. So this will not be the last. It's the last of this series, but I will revisit at a later date. People are firing 10-year-olds at me and saying, what about this? And I will. This will be a subject I will revisit again. It's great to see quality at 10 years old. I could be wrong. Sometimes I am. But some people, I think, start their whiskey journey, and they get a way along their whiskey journey. And certainly I think nowadays, because of social media and things, sometimes I think 10-year-olds start to get overlooked a little. They feel, I think that sometimes it's the feeling out there is that with age comes quality. So you've bagged a few 10-year-olds and a few 12-year-olds and you go, right, that's that done. Now I'll shoot into the 18s, the 21s and the older. It's not always necessarily true. The quality can still be there, and this proves it. And I would like to think that most of the whiskies, if not all of them that I've reviewed in this series, prove that goodness can come after 10 years. Remembering that 10 years is the youngest whiskey in this bottle. There could be older in it. But it's the distilleries who are now, I believe, starting to up their game a little. The consumers are asking more, and the distilleries like Glencadam are giving. This 10-year-old's been around a while, but I think as this community, as whiskey grows, more people are starting to realise that whiskies of this quality are out there, and that they need to now pick up their game, keep their game up, and keep pumping out good stuff like this. They need to bottle like their reputation depends on it, because let's face it, it does. Because we talk and we communicate, and if it's not good, we're not too slow telling people that it's not good. When it is good, thankfully, we tell people when it is good. So I'll get off my soapbox at that and just say that don't overlook 10-year-olds. There are some real gems out there, and I will revisit and tell you about some more at another time. Until then, I will be back the next time with something totally different, but you'll have to hang around and come back next week to see what that is. Till then, thank you very much for your support as always. Thank you very much to my patrons. The link to that group is in the description below. Here's to your good health, my friends. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.